Welcome everyone. On this video, we're going to be talking about some of the features that's available on the Salesforce administration side. The great things about Salesforce administration is that everything is pretty much point to click. As you will see in this quick video, you will see how easy it is to create new fields as well as how easy it is for us to create some automation through some of our automation tools. So let's take a look at our quick agenda that we have. So the agenda for today is we're going to talk about custom apps and when to use them. We'll talk about custom fields, how to create them, and you'll see how fast it is to create them, as well as the different types of custom fields that are available to us. We'll also take a look at some of our automation tools like Workflow and Process Builder, and we'll end it off with some of our data management tools, which is Data Loader and Data Import Wizard. So custom apps. So Salesforce can have a mixture of custom and standard apps. I'm sure most of you guys have used a standard app. If you're using Salesforce, you're definitely using at least one of the standard apps. With the custom app, we can have custom as well as standard objects. So for example, you can have uh, an app specifically for a team or department, and you only include the standard objects that's useful to them. So let's say you had a onboarding team, you'll have an onboarding app, and you might just have the account and opportunity objects available to them because that's all the information that they need. And those are the standard objects. But let's say you also have a custom onboarding object, which helps us to track where the onboarding is. That's when you can use a custom object to have that involved in there. You don't want to start creating custom apps for each individual user because then we'll just end up having way too many to manage and it's unnecessary. It's not good practice. You usually want to have it for one department or one team. And the reason you would use a custom app is usually if you want custom tabs there or a custom look and feel or a custom utility bar, custom homepage, for different teams, that's when you'll really introduce a custom app. So you want to be very careful when you're using a custom app, especially because if you try to make a change on one application, you need to make sure that change is made on the other application or it is not included in the other application. So you got to be very good. You got to really think about it before you start using a custom app. And then custom fields. So within a custom app, we'll have what we call custom fields. We'll take a look at right now, actually, in a sandbox, how easy it is for us to create a field. And we'll actually take a look at the different type of fields that's available to us that we can create. So let's jump into a Salesforce sandbox. So I have the sandbox open to myself. This is a lightning version, so if you haven't used a lightning version, just try to follow along as much as possible. I'm going to go to my object manager, and from my object manager I'm going to navigate to my account where I'm going to create a brand new custom field. And I actually want to show you guys how fast it is to create it. I'm going to say it's going to take less than 45 seconds, and you can even time it to see how long it actually takes. So here we go. I'm gonna press new here. So this is first I want to say, just let you guys know, these are all the fields that are available in my account object. And right now I'm gonna create a brand new Salesforce field on this account object. So before I do that, like I mentioned, I want to show you guys the different type of data that's available here. So we'll start with the first one. We'll talk about the ones that are not so obvious, and then I'll talk about the ones that are kind of, pretty obvious just by looking at the name. So auto number is a field where you can have a system generated number. So think of it like having an invoice object and having a field called invoice number, and you have the system auto generate that number for us. We can identify what kind of format to use and where the number actually starts. But if your format is very custom, then you might want to start using workflows and or process builder to kind of increase that number rather than using auto number itself. Then you have the formula field where you identify a formula within the text, and this field will give us the result. So what I mean by that is, for example, let's say you have a start date and an end date on an opportunity object, which identifies the length of the opportunity. You can have a field that goes end date minus start date and gives us a number of how many days are between those two dates. As the dates change, the formula field will automatically update its information. The rollup field actually can do four different things. So let's say we have a rollup field on an account. We can have it do various different things. We can have it count the number of opportunities that's on that field. So that is a count function. We can have a sum function where it adds up all the amounts of all the opportunities within an account, and it gives us a total of all the opportunity values. We can have a minimum roll up field where it gives us the smallest opportunity, and then we can have a maximum which gives us the largest opportunity. And again, if you want to have all four information, you need to create four different fields, and you need to have a master detail relationship in order for us to create a roll up summary field. And the reason that these three fields are grouped together is because these are all read-only fields. They're not writable. So if you create them, the system will give the output, and it cannot be edited. Then we take a look at our lookup fields. So there's two types of lookup fields. One is a very straightforward lookup field where you have a field which just looks up to another object. So you can have a lookup field on case, for example, which looks up to a contact. That's again a standard field which is available, but you can create custom ones as well. So for example, on an account, you can have an account manager. So it's kind of like the person that's managing this account. It's slightly different from an account owner. So that's what a relationship lookup relationship is. Whereas external lookup is very similar to the lookup, but it's actually looking up to a record that's outside of the Salesforce org, where the data is stored somewhere else. So an example would be something like an ERP system. So we have a lookup field where the field is looking up a record on an ERP system. Then we have other fields. So checkbox field, again, it's pretty straightforward. Currency, date, date time, email. Those are straightforward field. The great things about them is that you are using point to click to create these fields where the format is already done for you in the back end. So if I create a date field and the end user try to enter a value, it's going to pop up a calendar and they get to choose a date, or they can enter the date in a certain format. But let's say, for example, they start typing in Monday as a word, the system is smart enough to throw an error. Again, that's what's great about it, is that you don't have to tell the system to do that. The system knows to do that. Your job is to make sure that you're creating the right field. Daytime is just like it's going to give you a time option with the date. You have a email. A geolocation is kind of like it defines a location where something is located and gives you longitude and latitude information as well. Number field, pretty straightforward. Percentage, phone, pick list, multi-pick list, or in this case called pick list multi-select, is still a drop down, but you can select multiple options. You have various different text fields. The first one is a regular text field. The next one is also very similar. They both allow 255 characters, whereas the text area long actually allows 131,000 characters. Rich area, text area rich actually allows us to, again, same amount of characters, but we can actually customize the words that are in there. So we can have it bold, italics, underlined. We can add an image in there. So that's kind of what text area rich is. Text area encrypted is you're going to enter information, but when you save it, the record doesn't show you the values, but it shows there's information in there. So usually you see something like XXX, which is kind of like it's like hiding the information that's there. You have a time field, which is very new, and then you have a URL field. So these are again very straightforward. One thing I want to call out with the number field and the text field is that with a number field, for example, if you want to enter a year 2018, what it will do is it actually add a comma after the two. So it's a number field where it looks at it as a specific number rather than a year. So if you want something like a year, you're going to use a text field which doesn't add that comma automatically. So what we're going to do actually right now, we're going to create a checkbox field. And again, you're going to see how fast it is for me to create this field. I'm going to call this field, this account is a customer. So this field is going to help us identify that the account where this checkbox is true is a customer. So I'm going to put that in the description to make sure that, let's say like I'm no longer there, somebody else looks at this field, they know that information. This field identifies the account as a customer by having it marked as true. Okay, so if you guys are following along, you might want to create the same field because we're going to use this field in our automation as well. So I'm going to press next, and I'm going to say that this field is going to be visible to everyone. So this is where we defined is it visible to which profiles. You can also make this field read only if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it as just visible. I'm going to press next, and you identify which other page layout you want this field on. So I'm going to have it on all my layouts for now, and I'm going to press save. So just like that, I created a field. Of course, like there was some buffer time because I was trying to explain everything. But if you try to create the field yourself without all that explanation, you will see how easy and how fast it was to create that field. Go back to our PowerPoint and talk about some of the automation that's available through Salesforce, again, with the power of point to click. There are actually two systems or features that you can use to do this. One is called a workflow. The other one is called a process builder. As you can see, I created this quick chart for you guys to see when to use which and which of these systems is able to do what. So if you want to simply update the record, you can use process builder or workflow. It doesn't matter. If you want to update a related record, you definitely want to use a process builder, as workflow can only update the parent record. And both system allows us to send emails through creating an email alert. Again, process builder and workflow. The difference with this one is workflow will actually walk us through creating that email alert, whereas process builder, you have to create the email alert separately. Process builder can also call a flow. They're just introducing to the workflow right now. That's why it says pilot in bracket. Process builder can call an Apex code as well, whereas workflow cannot. Process builder you can submit for approval. Again, with workflow you cannot. Process builder you can post to a chatter. Workflow cannot do that. With process builder you can create any record that you wanted to. So let's say for example you have a candidate object which identifies a candidate as hired. Now you can create an employee record in your system just through process builder, whereas workflow you can only create a task. You cannot create any other standard or custom object records. And finally, workflow can send outbound messages, whereas process builder cannot. So one thing to keep in mind is that process builder can definitely do a lot more than the workflow. It is a lot stronger. But the thing with workflow is that it can handle mass set of data compared to the process builder. So that's where workflow kind of ups the process builder. But at the same time, there are certain things that process builder workflow cannot do. That's where you get into coding. So something like, for example, delete, or something completely custom that that doesn't apply to these actions. That's when you will use the process builder. Or sorry, that's where you will use coding. So what I want to do at this point, I want to jump back to our sandbox and I want to talk about how we can use these systems, and you're going to see how easy it is for us to create these workflows and this process builder as well. So if you're again following along, let's jump back to our sandbox and go to a workflow in our quick find. And we're going to utilize the custom field that we created. So what the automation we're going to do is pretty much we're going to look at an opportunity, and when an opportunity is closed won, we're going to mark the checkbox field as a customer. All right. So this step right here, and this is what's great about workflow. It actually gives you the steps and it kind of walks you through it rather than having you figure it out on your own. So where does this workflow start? It starts at an opportunity because I'm going to say pretty much when an opportunity is one, mark the account as a customer. So it's going to start at my opportunity. I'm going to go to next, and we can choose we're going to enter what this action is. So I'm going to say when an opportunity, oops, let's spell it right, is one. I can put a description saying what the workflow is going to do again, so somebody coming in can understand it quickly. An opportunity is one, mark the account as customer. All right. We can have this fire at three different times. We can have it fire when the opportunity is created. We can have it fire when it's created and every single time it's edited. So regardless of what field we select, it can fire at any of those times. Or we can have it fire only when it meets its criteria. Obviously, we're not going to choose the created one here because when an opportunity is created, usually it's not created with a one status. So I'm going to select the second one, and I'm going to select my field here. I'm going to look for opportunity stage, and I'm going to say opportunity stage equals, and the great thing is I don't have to type it in because let's say we have it on our stages as one and I start typing in close one, it's not going to fire. So that's why it gives us a magnifying glass where we can actually choose close one ourselves. And then I'm going to go next. So right now I said, when should this fire? And I press save and next. And now I'm going to identify what should happen at this point. So again, you can see my actions here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to update a new field, and I'm going to say update account to customer. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the object and I'm going to select the field. So the custom field we created, let's see here. This account is a customer. So that's the field that we created. And I'm going to say that mark it as true, and I'm going to press save. Now that I create the workflow, the most important part here is once I press done is to activate the workflow. If you don't activate it, it's not going to fire. So let's activate it and let's go test it out. So I'm going to go to from my app launcher, I'm going to select my sales app. And from there, I'm going to select a account. So let's select my Instagram account. And I don't have any opportunities there. First thing I want to make sure that this account is a customer. Perfect. So let's keep it like that. It's false. I'm going to create an opportunity. I'm going to create an enterprise type opportunity. I'm going to say $6,000. Testing customer. I'm going to say close date is sometime next week. Stage is qualification. And my lead source is web. So I'm just going to create this opportunity, creating it. It's taking some time. Great. So now my opportunity is created. So I'm going to select the opportunity. I'm going to look at the details, and you can see the stage is not close one. I'm going to open my account on a different tab so I can show you guys that my Instagram account is still marked as not a customer. As you can see here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this as close one, and I'm expecting that checkbox field to become true. So I'm going to mark it, make sure it happens. Again, just taking some time. Okay, there we go. It's close one. I'm going to go back to my account and I'm going to refresh it. And as you can see here, my field is marked as true. Okay, so that's again done through automation. So we're going to do something very similar, but this time we're going to use Process Builder, and you'll see how different it is. And before I do that, I'm actually going to turn off this workflow to show you guys that it's a process builder that's firing and not the workflow itself. I'm just waiting for it to load. All right, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my workflow and I'm going to make sure that I deactivate it. There we go. So I'm going to simply deactivate this. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a process builder, which is going to do the same thing for me. All right, so I'm going to create a new process builder. So what I want to call out quickly is, as you can see, the look and feel is slightly different. It kind of looks more like Lightning, whereas the workflow looks more like Classic. So I'm going to press New, and I'm going to name it the same thing. When up is one, mark account as customer. All right. I'm going to skip the description for this one, and we can have the system, so the process start at three different times. When a record changes, when a platform event occurs. So this is through, again, let's say we have a bad job running, we can do that, or it's invoked by another process. In our case, we're going to have it when a record changes. We want it to change when the opportunity is one, and it actually gives us a flow diagram which we can follow as well. We're going to add an object, and I'm going to call this object an account. Sorry, actually opportunity, again, very similar to our workflow. Again, we have the same options when the record is created or when the record is created or edited. So I'm just going to choose this one. As you can see, you don't have a third option here. So I'm going to press save, and I'm going to tell the system the same thing. So in that case, when up is one, and I'm going to say, again, I'm going to come here, I'm going to select the stage field. And very similar to our workflow, everything's kind of autofill for us. I'm going to select close one. So we can actually have this criteria executed three different times. When the condition is met, so this condition is met, or when and the formula evaluates to true. So where I can actually put this in a formula if I wanted to, or what workflow doesn't have and process builder does is no criteria, just execute the action. So we don't have to have anything here. And we can also say, is it when all the conditions happen, or is it when one or the other condition happens? So like an and or an or condition. So in our case, it's just one condition, and I'm going to press save. And I'm going to tell the system to update a record. I'm going to update customer. And I'm going to say related to opportunity because it's not our opportunity record anymore. And I'm going to look for account. And I'm actually going to select this one, account ID, without the arrow, because if I choose this, we're going to actually be looking at fields that are related to the that are in objects which are related to our account. So we don't want that. We want the fields that are on the account. I'm going to select that. I'm going to press choose, and I'm going to look for my field. So this account is a customer, and it's a Boolean, and I'm going to mark it as true. I'm going to save this. And as you can see the diagram, that's where it stops. Nothing else happens after that. But with this process builder, I can actually say something else. I can actually say the system to do something when an opportunity is lost. So I'm going to say when up is lost. So in workflow, we would have to actually create two different workflows for this. Whereas with process builder, I can do it within the same process. So again, I'm going to choose the stage field. And now in this case, I'm going to say lost. And I'm actually going to have two different actions happening. So first action I'm going to happen is I'm going to update the record. So I'm going to update count. And I actually want to mark that checkbox field to be false. So let's say we had them as customer and then we lost an opportunity or a renewal opportunity. They're no longer a customer now. So I want to make sure I identify that. So this account field, and I'm going to save it as false. And I'm going to say create a task. I'm going to say create a record, and I'm going to create a task for my opportunity owner to follow up. So the record type is task, and I'm going to assign it to my opportunity owner. So I'm going to check field reference. So I'm going to reference a field, and I'm going to reference the owner field on my opportunity. Priority is, let's make it normal. Status is not started yet. I'm going to make sure that I have a subject. So as a subject is a string field, so I'm going to put that in quotations. Follow up on why up is lost. I'm going to make sure this task is related to my opportunity. So related to, and I'm going to again do a field reference, and I'm going to simply choose my record ID. There we go, opportunity ID. I'm just going to make sure I got all the fields that are required. I got assigned to priority status subject. It looks like it. If we didn't, it'll actually throw an error. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to activate this. Again, same thing as the process, same thing as a workflow, you have to activate your process builder. Now, let's go to my Instagram account. I'm just going to refresh to show that this is still a customer of ours. And you can see that right here. And what I'm going to do, rather than opening up a new opportunity, I'm just going to take the opportunity that we have here, and I'm going to mark that as close lost. Let's see here, close lost. There we go. As you can see, it's closed lost now. And now I'm going to refresh this, and that checkbox should be unchecked. There we go, my checkbox is unchecked. And let's see if we have a task created. We do have a task created. We did forget a due date, but everything else is created. Let's make sure our priority is low. It is related to my opportunity, and the status is not yet started. And I'm also going to mark this as 1 again, just to make sure that my opportunity gets updated. There we go. One more time, I'm going to refresh my account. And there we go. Ta-da! It is marked as a customer. So that's the powerfulness of our workflow and process builder. And again, it's automation through clicks. There was no coding whatsoever. And the last thing I want to look at is import wizard and data loader. So these are both tools that are used to update as well as upload data into the system. With import wizard, you can do records that are less than 50K. So sorry, number of records that's it's going to be less than 50K. With import wizard, you can be alerted when there's a duplicate, and the reason for that is you're using unique identifiers as well, like email address on accounts, sorry, on contacts, or website on accounts, and you can actually determine if you want the workflow to fire or not. And this is actually great. So let's say you have a workflow that sends out an email when a new lead is created, and you are uploading a list of 10,000 leads. You don't want 10,000 emails going out. So this is really great in that sense. Whereas Apex Loader, you don't have an option to do that. It's gonna fire. So you might want to maybe turn that workflow off before you do that. And Apex Loader also uses the Salesforce ID. So there is no duplicate alert here. So if I have two accounts that are called abc.com, it's going to get uploaded in there. However, with Data Loader, you can do a lot more. You can load records into objects like opportunities and products, whereas Import Wizard can do accounts, leads, contacts, as well as custom objects. You can actually schedule imports. So you can actually have a Excel CSV file template created, and you can continue to update records in there on an ongoing basis, and it'll upload that into Salesforce on a scheduled time. You can save mapping. So let's say you have 20 columns and which map to 20 fields. With Data Loader, you can actually map it and save it. Whereas with App Exchange, you cannot do that. So you have to map it every single time. You can actually export data. So you can actually export everything within Salesforce, or you can actually use SQL to identify what type of records you want to export through Salesforce. With Import Wizard, export option is not available, so you would do something like run a report and export that. But again, that's not good practice because the IDs are actually different. Um, there is some like a like a fine print here where it says third-party tools are also available. So aside from these, there are other tools that are available, but these are like the Salesforce official tools. This is actually within your Salesforce org, whereas this is something you can actually download. So I'll just show you that quickly. If I go to my setup page, my data import wizard is actually right there, and my data loader can simply be downloaded to use on our computer system. You can download it for Windows or for Mac. All right, everyone. So that's kind of the end of our Salesforce administration video. Again, a quick glance at all the powerful tools that are available and all the different things that you can do. Again, with simple clicks. You just literally need to know how to use your mouse and your keyboard. There's no coding involved whatsoever. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll be catching up with you guys on our next one.